I think you better go.
I'm dismissed?
If the only reason is to apologize.
Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
9:30 before the hour now, tropical update time as it is every hour at this point. Let's start with climatologically favored areas in the month of July. That is, where have we seen named storms develop, let's say, in the past 100 years? Well, you can see the hot spots, which include the Bay of Campeche, the Gulf, the warm waters out near the Bahamas, east of Florida. Have some action out here today, by the way. I'll show you that in just a second. Western Caribbean, a favored area. And there are signs that conditions are getting a little more favorable for some development in the Caribbean right now. And I'll show you what's going on there as well. Tropical South Atlantic can be a hot spot, too. And if you remember last year, we saw Bertha develop out here and move up along the eastern seaboard, affecting most of you in the Carolinas, on up through New Jersey and the New York State and New England with some gusty winds and heavy rainfall. Well, here's the Atlantic satellite view. Your attention probably comes to the Gulf, where things are extremely quiet, no developments here. And there are thunderstorms in the Caribbean, but nothing that shows any signs of development at this time. While the intertropical convergence zone is pretty active right here just northeast of the northern edge of South America. However, there still is a dip in the jet stream out here and westerly shearing winds aloft. So although these look a little potent, it does not appear that they're going to organize anytime in the near future.
It's time now to check on the tropics, and we've been continuing to watch the system off the southeast coast. Here's the coast from Delaware, North Carolina, down through Florida. And we have a couple of areas of clouds. First, you can see all these clouds right along the coastal area. And if you live along the beach, it might be kind of a gloomy day. But those clouds are associated with the front. And that's the good news, because whatever is developing out here, because of this front, should stay east of that frontal boundary. And that should keep it away from the east coast this weekend. In the meantime, there is a Hurricane Hunter aircraft investigating this particular system. Not a depression yet, but some of the preliminary reports we've seen back indicate the winds are pretty strong. The pressures have dropped, and this system could be upgraded to a tropical depression or even a tropical storm sometime this afternoon as we get a few more reports. I was just spending some time talking to John Hope, and he's seen some winds gusting at times 40 miles per hour. So the system seems to be getting a little bit better organized. You can tell that as we see more thunderstorms around it. The thunderstorms associated with the color here, you see the reds and the yellows, the oranges, that's where the higher cloud tops are. But again, as this thing does seem to be getting a little bit better organized, it should move to the north and northeast and stay away from the east coast of the United States. But we will continue to watch it, and if anything changes this afternoon, we'll let you know as soon as we find out any information. Outside of this particular system, which, by the way, the Bermuda Island, or the island of Bermuda, is about 170 miles to the east, northeast of the system, and on its present course, it should stay west of the island. In the meantime, along the east coast, it's quiet. The Gulf Coast is quiet. A little flare up here we'll talk about, and as we head out through the intertropical convergence zone, which you can see right here where the trade winds from the south and north come together, the air rises, and of course, rising air, when you get a lot of humidity, we see clouds and we see rain. Looking at July, and it is the month of July, typically June and July pretty quiet, and the
Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, we now have our second named tropical storm of the 1997 hurricane season. The name is Bill, but I don't think any of us are going to have to worry very much about this one. Now, it is about 210 miles now to the southwest of Bermuda, and it's moving pretty rapidly, 17 miles an hour toward the northeast, and that means that it is going to be passing to the northwest of Bermuda this afternoon. And at the closest point, I think the center will be about 150 miles or so northwest of Bermuda, and then it's going to move right up over the North Atlantic. Now, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft are out there today, and they found out that it does have maximum sustained winds of 45 miles an hour. The pressure very high for a tropical storm. We don't normally see one named with the pressure this high. 13 millibars or 29.91 inches. Now, the reason they had to go ahead and name that, though, that the reconnaissance aircraft found when they were out there this afternoon, that was this morning and early this afternoon, that the strongest winds are here in the southeast quadrant, and that kind of puts Bermuda a little bit in the path of some of those stronger winds. They're stronger there than they are around the center. Now, that often happens once you get a storm moving pretty fast. You can almost add the speed of movement to the winds on that southeast quadrant, and that's why the winds are stronger there than anywhere else. And because of that, they had to put up tropical storm warnings for Bermuda. These are just tropical storm warnings. That simply means that the sustained winds may be over 40 miles an hour, and that's going to happen in the next several hours if it happens. Now, I've been checking the observations from the airport of Bermuda, and we haven't seen winds anywhere near that strong there yet, so we'll see what happens in the next few hours. If they get that strong winds, it'll be just for a very brief duration and probably not even much of anything in the way of heavy showers with it. We can show you a close-up satellite picture, and here it is, and right there is the center of the storm. Bermuda's off here directly to the east of that, and as you can see already, we don't have a whole lot of frames there, but you can certainly perceive that movement toward the northeast pretty fast. So this isn't going to be of any concern. Basically, once it gets past Bermuda this afternoon and early this evening, it will only be a concern to shipping out there. Here you can see what the how it looks compared to the United States. You can see the coast of the United States is well off there, and here's the storm right there. And down here you notice we have this low in the upper atmosphere. Now, originally this tropical storm Bill, the origins of it was associated with this upper low, but as you see, the upper low still stayed down here in the southwest Atlantic, and the storm is moving up toward the northeast at a pretty rapid rate of speed, about 17 miles per hour.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, we have our second tropical storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. The name is Bill. And right off, I want to tell you that I don't think this is one that any of us hardly are going to have to worry very much about. Now, it is about last advisory 200 miles to the west of Bermuda, and it's moving towards the northeast, and it's almost as close to Bermuda as it's going to be. It might get a little bit closer there in the next several hours. And also, I wanted to tell you that the strongest winds are to the southeast of the center. That very often happens when we have one that's moving northeast pretty fast. Now, this is already going 17 miles an hour to the northeast, so it's very common to have stronger winds like in the southeast quadrant than you do anyplace else around the storm. And usually that happens in the direction that the storm is moving. You could almost add that speed of direction of movement to what the winds would be, say, if it were a stationary system, and that's why you do have stronger winds there. The pressure is pretty high for a tropical storm. It's 1,010 millibars, or 29.82. Actually, when this was named, the pressure was up about 1,013. But because it is coming so close to Bermuda, tropical storm warnings are out for Bermuda. And if they occur at all, this is going to be in the next very few hours as this moves on up to the northeast. Right now, I've been checking Bermuda's observations every hour, and the strongest winds I've seen is about 20 miles an hour or so. So unless you get tropical storm force winds there pretty soon, I don't think there will be any at all. Now, as we take a look at the next picture here and out over the ocean, and yeah, here we are. This shows you where it is relative to the United States. It's a long ways off the coast. It's moving toward the northeast, away from the coast, and pretty soon it's going to be moving away from Bermuda as well.
Came and went in a big hurry.